And okay, where am I at here? So there's other stuff I want to talk about here as well, guys. About what would you say? Panacea for pain. Panacea for pain. Now, what do I mean by that? I mean, as in, I'm going to tell you a personal story that I had. Panacea for pain. In other words, do we really want a relationship, or are we just trying to stay away from other pain and we think a relationship's going to solve our problems? Well, here's my story. I used to live in London, didn't want to go to London, and I did go. Now, I love London City, great city. However, I didn't want to go to London for this job that I was doing. I was sad, I was miserable, and I was also trying to get over being a race car driver. I mean, guys, I used to race on camera, TV, in America, Canada. I used to sign autographs on hats. I mean, Jesus, you come from that life as a child all the way up. You don't know any better to all of a sudden it's over. So my identity in a way was was gone. That's how I felt. Now, it's understandable, and I think a lot of sports people do have that. And you find your way eventually, but this is only a few years after now the racing. So I went to London, hated it, and I had a flatmate, and this beautiful girl, and basically she was very cute. If I was in a good place, I would have never have been with her, and I did. I ended up hooking up with her, and all of a sudden, about 2 months later, I got rid of my room in the apartment, and I started bunking in with her. We were sleeping in the same bedroom. So I went from 0 to 1,000, from she was my flatmate to, oh, I'm living together. And it was one hell of a lesson. And I hope I still do, and hope I didn't make those mistakes. Actually, I probably have made those mistakes as I've gone on, but I had to learn the hard way on this one. I was miserable, guys. And the point is this. My goal in this one was to try and find myself and feel like Peter Walsh again. Well, at the end of it, certainly didn't feel like myself. I was on a hunt to find myself, and guess where I ended up? Right back to square one again, miserable. And in fact, I was even more miserable because it put serious pressure on the relationship. And it comes down to one reason and one reason only. You could argue, you could blame that, oh well, look, you were living together and this and that, but no, you got to go deeper than that. I didn't want it. I was using the relationship as an excuse, or as a distraction, maybe, even that's the better word, maybe, as a distraction to get away from the pain and the misery and suffering I was feeling at the time. Now, look, I would say to you is I was trying to cope. I wasn't, bawling, crying every single day. No, not at all. But, I wasn't in a great place either. So what I did was, trying to help things, I made everything fucking worse because it wasn't based on real feelings, genuine feelings. So my point is this, guys, if you're trying to get into it, if you want to be in a relationship, if anything you could learn from me here, maybe look at it and go, okay, well, is everything going well in my life? Because if you are trying to ignore the pain and get a relationship instead, well, it could end in tears. And you're so desperate to make the relationship work because it's not about the relationship, it's about your other pain in the back of your head. You don't want to face that fear, so you'll do anything to make this relationship work. And guess what? You can't get away from it because underneath, the root of the problem is that you're trying to escape from the pain. The real pain. Now, of course, this isn't for everybody, guys. All right? I'm just saying that if something's just doesn't feel right, it's almost like if you were standing here with one shoe 1 inch larger than the other, and you're just tilted. Something just doesn't feel right about the relationship. Maybe, look at it. Try and work through it. See a psychologist. Why not? And maybe, just maybe, you won't want to have a relationship. Or maybe you'll be just a bit more relaxed. So I hope that helps, guys. And because I would love for people to, well, to not make the same mistakes I've made. Because Lord God Almighty, even after that, when I learned a hard lesson, I still made huge goddamn mistakes in other relationships. Again, masking the pain. I just didn't get it. It took me years to figure this out. Years to figure this out. So I hope it helps, guys. And what's that saying? A wise person learns from other people's mistakes. Well, I certainly wasn't wise, I can fucking tell you that. Jesus Christ. And one last thing, guys, is that this is a bit of a weird one. But again, it kind of ties in with this last one. And that's saying, a happy wife is a happy life. That, I'm sorry, that goes absolutely right through me. Now, I think if anybody of you know me here, ye know that I like and I believe that it has to be 50-50 in a relationship. So don't get me wrong when I say, well, no, fuck her, fuck that. No, I'm not saying that. My point is this, guys. Not every relationship, whether you're married or just in a relationship, I'm not saying that every couple does this, okay? So let's just put that to bed. Not every couple does this. But those who do, sometimes you gotta weigh up what's going on here. You might be trying to keep the girlfriend or the wife or the boyfriend or the husband happy by, look, if that's what they want to do, that's what they want to do, grand, keep them happy, they're off my back. Well, isn't that number one a problem? If they don't get their way, they're on top of you, they're all over you. Shouldn't they be man enough or woman enough or mature enough to just actually say, well, if I don't get my way here, I'm not going to take it out on my partner. Do you know what I mean? Now, like I'm saying about 50-50, I really do believe in 50-50. Man's got to chip in, the woman's got to chip in. And, well, more importantly, if you're living together, the man's got to provide for the woman. That's the way I look at it. Now, there's some women out there that would argue with me. Grand, fair enough. And that's okay. And that's a different day, different subject. But for me, I would believe in that. And that's okay. Whatever anybody believes in. And it's give and take. Like, what happens if you do let's say, we'll just go an example here now, ladies. What happens if a girl gets her way all the time? And the guy's just like, oh, do you know what? Grand, whatever. Just let her have her way. She'll be happy. She'll be grand. Done. Eventually, if this keeps building and building and it just keeps going and going, that the guy just gives in all the time, don't you think that he might start growing resentment towards his girlfriend or wife? And maybe he'll be bitter and he'll resent her because it's all about her or it's all about him. There's no getting away with it. And coming from a man's point of view, if a man's not getting his way, hopefully he's chipping in. And if he wants to, have the boys over to watch the Super Bowl or the rugby game for a night out, and his woman is just being a complete sufferable hag, let's say. Because don't get me wrong, ladies, men can be complete pricks here too, alright? Like, if she's being impossible, but she always gets her way, don't you think that the guy's in the back of his head resents you? Or she resents the guy? And you could say, well, what about me? It's all about me. Oh, well, that's a nice, healthy attitude to have in a relationship. Very, very healthy. You go get him, Tiger, and you go see exactly how far you get with that attitude, whether you're a man or a woman. That is the most ridiculous scenario I've ever heard. Wouldn't you prefer your husband to be happy? Wouldn't you prefer your wife to be happy, or boyfriend or girlfriend? That you're actually more relaxed with each other? And what if you do feel that they're getting their own way all the time? Why don't you just sit down and talk about it? And like I said, guys, I'm not speaking about every relationship out there. But do you really, like, let's say Peter's in a relationship now and I'm giving in every 5 minutes, letting her do what she wants, it keeps her happy. Don't you think that I'm going to start to get pissed off eventually? Maybe I'll even resent her. Maybe I actually fantasize, and by the way, I've heard about these stories. You fantasize about your wife getting murdered by someone. Like, I know that sounds very intense, but hey, people think this shit. People think this shit. You know? And again, now that's right going into the dark side of stuff now. We're like way down the 100 mile an hour intensity limit. And let's bring it back a bit. Maybe the guy's secretly hoping that you'll dump him, or the other way around. You know? Hopefully this helps, guys. You don't want resentment. It's going to screw up your relationship. And I know there's people out there that want to control things. And funnily enough, the people who try to control relationships are the scared shitless people in the first place. In the first place. Because they are getting controlled by someone else outside your relationship and in a different relationship. So in other words, it could have been your mum or dad trying to control you. And because you're so bitter and resentful, then you take it out on your boyfriend or girlfriend or husband or wife. Cut it. Chop the head off the snake here. Toxic behavior. Anyway, guys, thanks for listening today. Hope there was some value in this podcast episode today. And if you ever want to contact me, peter@thepeterwalshshow.com. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Peter Walsh.